Today we're going to be talking about the Sony 20mm 1.8. So I recently just switched from Canon to Sony, and before I had the Sony a7 IV with the 20mm 1.8, I had the Canon R6 with the RF 15 to 35. And when I was swapping over to Sony, one of my first thoughts was switching the RF 15 to 35 to the Sony 16 to 35. Sorry, these waves are probably ridiculously loud. Let's go somewhere quieter. So when I was originally swapping over to Sony, I just thought I would go with the 16 to 35. It seemed like a natural switch from the 15 to 35. But since I was switching to Sony, since I was trying something new, I thought, why not? Let's try a prime lens and see how we go. And to be honest, I think I'm preferring this prime lens over my old 15 to 35. Definitely not to say that the old 15 to 35 that I had was a bad lens. It's an epic lens. It's a great lens. It's one of the best RF lenses in my opinion. But maybe it's just because I'm trying something new. But most of you watching this right now probably don't give a crap about Canon RF lenses. You're just deciding whether you should go with maybe the 16 to 35 for the Sony or the 20mm 1.8. Okay, we're gonna have to fit through this wire. Let's see how we go. There we go. We did it. The wire hit my nut. Kind of hurt. Oh, ow. So one of the first reasons I wanted to try this lens out was the f1.8 aperture. Usually my vlogging lenses are either 2.8 or f4. And I just thought a 1.8 would be cool, get that, you know, more of a cinematic look when you're vlogging. However, I know if you're vlogging, you still want to see a bit of the background. So it's kind of like, what do you prefer? Do you want to see more of the background, or would you rather have a bit more of the background blurred out and have more of a cinematic, stylistic look? Personally, like I said before, I just wanted to try something new and see what a 1.8 looked like when I was vlogging. It's not like super crazy blurred out because we are using a 20mm, but it does give a little bit of a extra bit of blur. I will say that I do notice a bit of a difference, obviously shooting with the 15 to 35 or the 16 to 35, and now shooting with the 20mm. I do have to like kind of stretch my arm out a bit further, but I think the compromise is worth it. 20mm is definitely wide enough for vlogging. 24, I think you're kind of pushing it. I feel like it's a little bit too close, and then anything after 24 is just, I wouldn't really vlog with it. The 20mm is currently the only lens I have at the moment. I'm in the market for another lens, and I thought I was gonna need another lens, you know, as soon as possible, because a 20mm is only good for, you know, vlog shots, landscape photos, and things like that. And then I forgot that the a7 IV has crop mode, which looks really good, and that crop mode makes the 20mm an equivalent to a 30mm. And I'm able to zoom in like if I did have a 16 to 35, but now it's more like a 20 and a 30. I know that kind of defeats the purpose of a prime lens, but it makes it a lot easier if I need to shoot B-roll. I don't need to swap lenses out. I can just use the 20mm, swap it over to crop mode, or, you know, the a7 IV has a crop in 60 frames per second, so if I'm shooting slow-mo, I'm usually zoomed in anyways, and it all works out perfectly. I didn't mean for that to happen, but hey, it works for me. Since I decided to go with a 1.8 lens, I needed a new ND filter, because previously I was using a 2 to 5 stop ND filter for my 15 to 35, which was a 2.8, which seemed to work pretty good. But the ND filter just wasn't enough, didn't get dark enough for a 1.8. So I had to get a 6 to 9 stop ND filter to use this lens during the bright sunny days. So keep that in mind if you do switch over to this lens. You're gonna need another ND filter. You could always bump the aperture up, but I mean, we're getting a 1.8 to get a 1.8, so yeah, you probably need a new ND filter. First sunset we've had in a while. Well, first clear day we've had in a while, so you can actually see the sunset. Thought I'd embrace it for first time in a while. This lens may also be useful to you guys who don't want such a heavy lens. The 16 to 35 may be a bit heavy. I'm not entirely sure. I've never held the 16 to 35. I know my RF 15 to 35 was really heavy, and this is like so much lighter. It's equivalent to the Sony 24mm, but even smaller than that. It's a really nice light lens, so if you're vlogging, your arm won't get as tired when you're holding it up for so long, or if you're using a gimbal, it'll be a lot lighter for a gimbal. So it's a lot lighter and it's a lot smaller than your 16 to 35 or at 15 to 35 or whatever you have. So overall, I've only really had this lens for a couple weeks now, and still have to build a relationship with this lens, get a little bit deeper. And overall though, I am really enjoying this lens and I'm really liking it. Hopefully this gave you guys a bit of a better idea of how this lens looks when you vlog. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, hit like, do all the YouTube stuff, I'd appreciate it. And if you want to see more with this lens in future videos, stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.